What's up, gamers? It's your boy, JKon. Welcome to another video. Today, I thought it'd be fun to go over the end of year newsletter that Riot released, as it has a few fun facts from this past year, as well as some tidbits for the next coming year in 2024, so I thought it'd be fun to cover. I also have a channel announcement, but stay tuned till the end of the video for that. Anyways, let's get into it. Alrighty, let's see what we have here. So we have the VCT 2023 end of year letter to the community. 30 new partner teams, promoted teams from challenger leagues for the first time ever. Had a little bit of sussy moments during this part, but you know what? You do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? Not everything works perfectly. Hosted 4 unforgettable global events and brought Premiere to life. There's so much to celebrate. There actually did come out a lot in 2024. I feel like we have been complaining that Valorant does not necessarily have the most content that has been produced. For example, we're still missing our replay factor, so watching demos and like POV demos is nigh impossible to do right now. There hasn't been really too many game modes. Like, yeah, they add those rotating game modes from time to time, but they don't necessarily stick around. It's cool that we had TDM, and TDM's been around for a little while now. I'm not a big fan of TDM personally, but you know, it's nice to have a little bit of variety in there, and I know that that's a game mode that certain people really enjoy. Anyways, let's continue with this article. VC2 Americas became the biggest and most watched esports league in the Americas and bred some of the best players in the game. That's like such a weird sentence, but like it makes sense. Shout out to American esports though, you know. NA on top, baby. Woo woo. Oh, my cat is stepping all over my desk. Hey Bella, you want to say hi to the camera? Yeah, say hi. Say hi, Bella. Oh, you're such a cutie pie. Oh, hi. Dad's trying to work right now. Dad's filming a video. Yeah, I love you too, Bella Boo. Sorry, am I in your way? Am I griefing you? Love you too, little fluffy butt. Okay, anyways, let's continue. Fnatic, who came close to winning VCT's first ever triple crown. Bro, Fnatic, they're still going to be really good this coming year. They're still going to be really, really freaking good. Started 2023 by bringing all partner teams to Sao Paulo. True. And then they also held the Game Changers World Championship at Sao Paulo as well, which is really cool. Watched a day with a close to 1.5 million peak viewers. That's actually really insane if you think about it. This game has only been out for 3.5 years now, and they're breaking 1.5 million for an opening tournament, which is nuts. From there, we went to Tokyo, where we hosted our first ever event in Asia, and we're truly embraced by the Japanese community. Fans set the record for the largest live audience event to date, with over 13,000 attendees per day for the final 2 days. And we finally got to Champions. Champions LA. Oh, Bella, thank you for stepping all over my keyboard. Champions LA was by far our most ambitious event yet. Dude, honestly, one of the things I really wanted to talk about, that I don't think I necessarily really talked about in my previous videos, is how good Riot's marketing team has been. Not just in Valorant, not just in League, but just overall in general. But we'll focus on Champions for right now. So one of the things that Riot did is that they took over LA and the downtown LA area, especially a lot of local spots like K-Town. They held a EDM concert in tandem with a Los Angeles-based music production company that puts on these events in that area, the localized area, Brownies and Lemonade. And I was able to go to that event, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to see artists that I have loved personally, as well as just seeing Valorant come to life, just seeing the stage, the way it was set up, having the Radiant Night crates on the stage as decorations. We got to see the sloth in the background. I did see a few pro players and famous people from the community there as well, but me being a shy boy, I did not say hi because, you know, social awkwardness and all that stuff. But anyways, I think it's just really cool and really smart with what they were doing, being able to integrate within the LA lifestyle and bringing that in combination with Valorant. It's just really smart to tie that in and really bring the community together. I got to meet a lot of random people from all over the place. I met this guy from San Francisco at the event, and he was telling me how he just got into Valorant and was not even super deep into the esports scene, but just was starting to get into it a little bit, and especially because he was attending Champions as well, which is super cool. But yeah, I just think Riot's marketing has just always been really, really on point. I love the takeover of the city, and I'm really excited to see what they'll do for future events as well. Anyways, let's go back to the article here. Champions LA was the most watched VCT event of all time, achieving over 1.8 million peak viewers. That is crazy. We estimate that 9.5 million unique registered fans watched Champions, which is incredibly encouraging and humbling. What's one of the things I really like about these Riot articles and Riot drops is that they actually give us some numbers. One of the few things that I don't think that Riot necessarily has been super transparent about has been numbers throughout the years. So I enjoy that we got to see these. Like, yeah, we got to see some things for like LCS and how LCS is kind of dying with numbers going down and whatnot, but straight from Riot themselves, I mean, it's cool to see. Witnessing Evil Genius's journey was special, with highlights including Demon 1 winning champions in his rookie year and Potter making history as the first woman to lead a world championship in esports. It's kind of really crazy to think about, but in the grand scheme of esports, women don't exactly have the largest representation. So having a coach who, first of all, started out as a player in this game. She was on the original co-ed roster that Evil Geniuses first signed. She was the IGL. They signed Temperature back in the day, who was renowned from Moon Raccoons, and that roster didn't really have too much success as they eventually transferred out of the co-ed and Potter became the head coach. But I still really like the original initiative that they got to do. So shout out to them for that at that point in time. EG's kind of dead at this point if you don't already know. I might work on something talking about that on the side. I've been busy. Valorant Champions Grand Finals attracted over 1.8 million peak viewers with 1.1 million minute audience? Don't exactly know what that means. And 9.5 million total registered unique viewers. That's absurd. That's crazy to think about. Again, this game has only been out for 3 years. So to register 1.8 mil at a peak and 9.5 million total when your events have not really been that big, if you really want to think about it. 2020 and 2021, the events were all pretty much online. Yeah, you had Mastered Reykjavik, which was the first LAN, but they didn't have a crowd. I don't think the second event had a crowd. So the LAN environments haven't really picked up to this extent, to this large of a global scale. So the fact that we're seeing it now already within 3 years is pretty freaking nuts, and you have to give it to Riot, man. They know what they're doing. The whole event was a true labor of love to the Valorant community. It made us all very proud. Here's a sneak peek behind the scenes of the team sharing some of the work that went to bringing the show to life. Sheesh. That was a pretty crazy video. That was pretty crazy. I actually really enjoyed that. That's super sick. There's so many like little minor details in it that I didn't even notice, like the opening of the walkways. I thought that was really cool. But man, just the production value that Riot has done over the years is just always so top tier. I mean, even if you look at Worlds, like Worlds for League of Legends every year has such a great opening ceremony. I mean, this past year was really freaking good with New Jeans coming out. Pretty solid. I just like, Riot just knows what they're doing. I think they are continuing to push technology and augmented reality to make their shows and their visuals just next level, and you don't really see that elsewhere. You know, I'm not saying that you get the same fanfare from Counter-Strike or whatever, but their celebrations and their intros and whatnot are not to the same degree at all. But it's a completely different game, completely different community, different intents and whatnot, but it's still mind-blowing what Riot has been doing. So I don't know, I think it's cool. I like it. As a fan, I always just enjoy seeing that kind of stuff. All right, let's continue on with the article. Crowned a new Game Changers World Champion in Sao Paulo, Brazil with the All-Stars Shopify Rebellion team, the incredible Mel and Fluorescent to take the trophy in the most competitive series. The series was insane. The final series was actually nuts. I want to do a video on Game Changers. I just haven't finished watching all the VODs yet, but this was a really fun event. SR were pretty much unstoppable. They looked so good. Mel's calling was on point. Sucked that she had COVID, and Floor is the truth, man. Floor is the future. She is so good. She is so good. All right, now probably the most important stuff is the what's next part. 2022 is the most watched women's esports tournament of all time. I did not know that, but that's really nice to see. Doesn't not make sense because, again, women esports are not exactly super developed and the scene is still growing, and Valorant has been a really big esports in the space to help grow and give that space for women, and I think that's great. They mentioned in the video of how there's so many more women that play Valorant comparatively to other video games, that it's just a game that has allowed an avenue for these women and marginalized genders to have a space to compete and play in, and I think that's great. I think that is wonderful, and I think we need more of that going into the future. The Spoke Game Changers competition will continue to exist, but they're changing the rules and policies such as player loans, two-way player systems, and exceptions for game changers players. Okay, I like that. Removing the import rule and more incentives for players to get signed. I genuinely like this. I think this is a good change. If you want to help an environment grow, you need to be able to foster it with more talent. The more restrictive you are on that talent, the less potential growth one could have. So I think, like, say for example, you have this insane European game changers player that wants to get the bag, and then they get offered an incredible bag by a North American team, but guess what? The North American team already has an import. Because of the change in the rules, it will not matter, and I think that is great, because then it will allow more talent to flourish. You can see that when good talent comes into the region, it can actually help elevate the region. A good example of this would be Bjergsen in League of Legends. North American mids were hot cheeks until Bjergsen came in and rolled over everybody, and then you started having mid laners come up to really compete against Bjergsen, like Jensen. Like, Pobe has always been around, but I love Pobelter. But these mid laners had to develop and get better because somebody was already at the top, and they increased the floor of competition. So I think removing these restrictions is really good to foster growth. Due to the timing of Ascension, Challengers League ended too early this year. Yeah, considering they were not playing for over 6 months, that's a really long freaking time. Yeah, you are. I love my cats, but they're so funny. They're so funny. Silly little clowns. Finally, we'll start promoting teams from Premier directly into Challengers next year, creating a path for aspiring pros that starts in-game. I know that's what the system for Premier that they've been talking about and kind of the design that they've been going for, but the fact that they're implementing it within 2024 is really, I don't want to say quick necessarily, but I hope that they have details finalized about it, because I still think there's a lot of variability in what can happen, and Riot's responses to free agent teams and organizations hasn't been the greatest so far, so I guess we'll find out. And I'm excited to reveal the 10 organizations here that will join the league when it kicks off next year. Let's go through this. So we have All Gamers AG. I have never heard of this team before, so I have no idea. I don't know anybody on their roster. BLG, of course, if you don't know who BLG is, they made their international debut at Champions this past year and were able to make it out of groups and went out in the quarterfinals, losing to their Chinese brothers EDG. BLG have a star player named YZ, and they have like a pretty good core around him. They were experimenting with some of their academy players through this past offseason, and they didn't have the greatest time during the Evolution series, if I remember correctly, but nonetheless, they are still a very good roster and a very strong team. So I'm happy to see them get into franchising, as BLG are quite a large organization and have that league tie already. Going on to the next one that we said is EDG, you know, the homeboys, the kings of China. Not much needs to be said about them. They're the best in China. They deserve the slot. Thankfully that they got a slot so that they can avoid Ascension, because again, I said in my Africa TV video, they have literally been playing non-stop since Champions ended, so I hope that they get a bit of a break. The next team that we have is FPX. FPX also have made a few international competitions, but they haven't had the best success. They were doing pretty decently in the Evolution series so far. They signed a young Australian duelist player named Autumn, who has been filling in that role, as they dropped Yuka, who has moved to Attacking Soul Esports, who will be playing in Ascension. But anyways, FPX have looked pretty solid. I just think it's funny that they brought in a white guy to the team, but he does speak some Mandarin, so mad respect to that, and he's pretty good. And one of the other things I want to talk about with him is that he plays Phoenix. Outside of Jake, he's one of the few Phoenix players that have gone into work. He plays it on Sunset, and they were popping off on Sunset with his Phoenix pick, so shout out to Autumn. Next, we have JD Gaming, or Jingdong Gaming. I don't know their Valorant roster. Yeah, I have no idea who anybody on their team is. It looks like they signed a Russian player named Vici. I feel like I've seen that name before, but other than that, I don't really know much about JDG. On their League of Legends side and the LPL, they almost completed the Golden Road, signing a huge expensive roster that was reportedly $16 million or some shit like that, but they ended up going out in the semifinals against T1, who of course Faker was destined to win his 4th ring, and he's the GOAT for a reason. Moving on, we have Nova. Kind of have a cool logo. I actually kind of like that, the purple logo of the Nova. That's actually kind of sick. I don't know anything about them other than the fact that they got a player named What a name. Okay, well, definitely Nova is a newer organization, and I don't think they're that big. So I guess they're one of the few that have been given a shot, along with All Gamers. Another one that has been given a shot is TE or Trace Esports. I actually really like this team. They really surprised me. When I was watching the Evolution series, they actually were popping off quite a lot. They have a pretty good player. His name is Kai. Their initiator player named YOU or Yo he's really good. Like, he's an insane fragger on the initiator role. And I thought Trace just looked really good. And I actually really enjoyed watching them play. They're able to take a series off of EDG once or twice. I know that they beat them on Sunset. They beat them down bad on Sunset, which is EDG's dominant map. So Trace is really good, and I like seeing them. So I'm happy to see them in the franchise league. Next, TEC. I don't even know what this stands for. Titans Esports Club. I only recognize a couple of names from this. Let's see. Abwo. I remember Abwo. He might have played for EDG. He did play for EDG. Yeah, your boy still got it. One of the other funny things I noticed about this roster is they have a player named Kawaii. So, you know, shout out to that guy. Moving on, we have TYLOO. Now, TYLOO is a very household name in the Chinese esports scene. They were saying an organization that's been known in FPS. That's TYLOO for sure. They have had rosters in Counter-Strike for a really long time. T1's ex-curate, the older brother of Forsaken, Kevin Susanto, he used to play for TYLOO as their opper and went to many international competitions with that CSGO division. So it's cool to see them get a spot in the Valorant franchise league. A few of the players that I definitely know that stand out to me were Ice King, Luo King, and Nine Body. Those are just some names that have been staples in Chinese Valorant for a while now, so it's pretty cool to see them go onto the larger stage. I don't remember if they were that great of a roster. I feel like they kind of struggled here and there, but obviously there's still a lot of room for a ton of roster changes and moves going ahead into the franchise league, so I guess we'll see. And last but not least, we have the final team that got in, which is Wolves Esports. Now, this one I just think is so freaking funny, because if you don't know who Wolves are, they're the esports division of a English soccer Premier League club called the Wolverhampton Wanderers. And they have gotten a spot in the Chinese Valorant scene, which is really funny to me. You might actually recognize their logo a bit. This was the sponsor patch on the Evil Geniuses jerseys this past year, as Wolves was a large sponsor for them in this past year to try to develop their esports space. And clearly that has worked, as they now have gotten their own slot in the Chinese franchise league. One could say that with Wolves pulling out their support for Evil Geniuses to make their own bid for the franchise league, that might have possibly led to a bit of demise in the EG front, as they are running out of money. Kind of an interesting little butterfly path that we got going down here, you know what I mean? Final thoughts, I just think the Chinese league is going to be pretty insane. There's a lot of new rosters and a lot of new players on here that I don't necessarily recognize. We'll see how the rosters will shake down, especially as Ascension will be going on. I think Rare Atom have a really good shot at winning it. The only problem with Rare Atom is they have 2 Koreans, which you can have for Ascension, but in the main franchise league, you're only allowed 1 import, so it's going to be very difficult. Do you drop your IGL, who has redefined your team and really brought a lot of stability, or do you drop your star player that's been hard carrying? Tough to see, but I hope Rare Atom makes it. Anyways, moving on. Starting on February 16th for Americas, 17th for Pacific, and 20th for EMEA, and 22nd for China, crown a winner and qualify teams for Masters Madrid. Isn't that kind of crazy that if you have a kickoff tournament in 2 months from now, that will determine if you go to the first international event, which low-key determines if you go to the second international event, which low-key determines if you get into the third international event? I'm not saying that they shouldn't be valued highly or that points should carry over like that, but that's a lot of weight on one tournament to start out the year, in my opinion, especially as a lot of teams have not been completed. Pacific has finished most of their teams, EMEA has finished most of their teams, but NA is still looking rough right now, especially as the EG players are still kind of held in contract jail. I don't know if they've been freed. There's been memes on Twitter about it, but I guess we'll see. From March 14th to the 24th, Masters will feature a fresh new format, starting with a Swiss stage. Oh, I love that. And ending with double elimination brackets we know and love. Okay, this is super sick. Okay, one of the things I want to say, first of all, 14th to 24th. Again, that means that in less than 2 months, the season starts, and less than a month after that, they will be going to an international competition. That is really tight scheduling. Like, really tight scheduling. So I don't know if necessarily we're going to get the best teams going into the tournament. I feel like the teams that will have the best chance to make it are the teams that have set their rosters in stone for a while now. I've been practicing. I think Sentinels, for example, have set their roster for a while. Lev have set their roster file, etc., etc. I think these teams might have a better chance than, say, NRG or 100 Thieves, etc., or people who have not completed their rosters yet. The other side to it is Swiss stage. If you don't know what Swiss is, it's basically a best of 3 matchup. So you have 8 teams, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each of them match up. The winners go on to face each other in the 1-0 bracket. The losers go on to face each other in a 0-1 bracket, and it continues on. If you're 0-3, you get eliminated. If you're 3-0, you qualify out. So you want to get to 3 wins and avoid 3 losses. Depending on how they want to do it, sometimes they open up with best of 1s for the first matchup and then move to best of 3s once it hits 2 wins and 2 losses. But I don't really like best of 1s, especially in an MR13 system. So I guess we'll see what Riot does. I'm hoping that they do best of 3s. I think BO3s is fair. Finally, I'd like to use this opportunity to give you a sneak peek into some of my plans for 2025. 2024 will still have a late start, mainly to give new teams in China to prepare, but challenger changes will go live in 2025. Okay, I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier, how there just is too packed of a schedule. And I think what they hinted at it, especially with that video, was saying that with all the planning for the venues, they do it like a year ahead. So all the stuff for this next 2024 has already been planned, which is why they can't change the schedule very much, which is why it's super packed. But 2025, it might be better, guys. Woo! I mean, high key, the orgs are carrying the off season, not Riot. I know they just had a Riot event that they hosted, but again, for the most part, it's been third-party events and these organizations that have been carrying the content. We've been able to provide a very healthy business landscape. We started with a very successful lock-in bundle that shared over $10 million with teams. Yeah, that was big. I kind of regret not buying the knife just because it was a green knife, but I think I've spent so much money in this game already that I didn't really need it. But it's still pretty cool. Champions Collection broke records as the most successful esports bundle in history, sharing over $22 million with teams. Like, holy shit. I mean, like I said in my Vandal rankings, this was the best one that they've released so far. The sounds were just super good. I think by 2023, Valorant has already grown and developed so much that the player base is just larger and the interest in esports has grown larger, and the limited effect of these skins has just pushed people to want to buy them. So I'm not surprised, but $22 million is insanity, bro. Every partner team received 1 share, and the teams that made a championship received a 2nd share, being further compensated for making it to the biggest stage of the season. I like that. It reminds me of kind of like sticker money for CS teams that make it to the majors. Like, if you make it to the major, you're going to get money because you get stickers, which is really helpful. An organization that basically ran off that was Bad News Eagles, who were a kind of like a free agent roster that basically made it through qualifiers to make it to the major, and then they had pretty decent success at the major as a roster, but then they would suck everywhere else outside of the major. But every time they would make the major, they're just making bank. Anyways, they got signed to Guild recently, so they're now Guild Eagles, which is pretty cool. It's cool to see Guild continue to expand their esports divisions. As you may or may not know, they originally were in Valorant, and that's where we had very famous names such as Bonkar and Leo used to play on. And Safe used to play for Guild. Very pog. They made more money than 2021 and 2022 combined. That's fucking crazy. And an average of more than $1 million per team. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. You have 30 teams with $33 million. Yeah. Sheesh. But again, if you look at esports finances, like $1 million, yeah, it's a lot, but it's not that much. You have some of these players that have crazy contracts, like $30,000 a month. $30,000 times 12 months equals $360,000. Times that by 3 players, that's already $1 million. So yeah, you get $1 million, but if you're spending a shit ton of money on these top level players, which obviously is why we're having the esports winter right now, and a lot of the contracts are regressing in payment because 25 to 30K a month is ridiculous. $1 million only gets you 3 players. So it's crazy. Let's see. Pro players have also shared greatly in that success. From the $33 million in digital items shared this year, teams distribute close to $12 million to players and coaches, 35% on average. That's interesting. They actually gave us the number. I know I said this earlier, how I like seeing how Riot gives us numbers because a lot of people don't give us numbers. This is actually a freaking number. This literally is telling us what these orgs are willing to share with their players and their coaches, which I think is pretty good. 35% is, I don't want to say a lot because I don't know personally how prize money distribution usually goes, but I feel like that's a lot. Like This seems like a lot. Riot also paid a total of $4.5 million in prize pools, of which over $3 million were distributed to players and coaches, 70% on average. Okay, that makes sense. For the first time ever, you'll be able to support your favorite teams in-game with team-branded gun skins and goodies. Every team in the international leagues will get the full bundle with the gun skin, including the recently promoted Ascension teams. Okay, I like that. So at least we'll get like a G2, a Gentlemate, and a Bleed gun skin coming out. My guess just from this, it's gonna be a classic. And I know people were fiending over like, oh, they're gonna make a Phantom, they're gonna make a Vandal. But if you think about it, the easiest thing to reskin that everybody will have at the beginning of a round is a classic. What is more on brand than giving that out? If you want to take a comparison, you can look at the Knives sales versus the Vandal sales. The numbers tell you that so many more people bought the Vandal than the lock-in knife, right? Not saying that they're comparable per se, but just as a concept, people will use the more common skins in my opinion. So I think everybody will get some form of a classic and like a player card, maybe a title. I think that's still pretty good. I think depending on how they come out, I hope they're not going to be like 3D sticker effects, because that would be pretty fucking dog shit. But I hope that they will look nice, because, you know, I think it's really cool to rock teams in game. Obviously in CS, you can have that with the aforementioned major stickers. So I think having that in Valorant is cool, and it'll show like your extent of a fan. I mean, they kind of had that in League of Legends. You had the player icons. I mean, I still have my TSM and Cloud9 one from back in season 3 when they first released that shit. So, you know, I love esports stuff, so I think it's really, really cool. Overall, it was really cool to see the numbers and just how much success Valorant has in this past year. VCT in general has grown a shit ton, and it's been really fun to be along for the ride. And as somebody who wants to stick around in this community and in this environment, I hope to see it continue to flourish going into the future. And that's the end of the article. I hope you enjoyed going through that with me. I thought it would be pretty fun, and it was really cool just to see the numbers, especially the monetary numbers that Riot gave to us. Again, like I said earlier, that's not something that they traditionally will give, or most companies would give in general. So overall, I just appreciate the fact that they were willing to tell us that. Anywho, moving on, I did want to talk a little bit about my channel and kind of the direction that I wanted to take it going forward. If you may or may not have noticed, a lot of my gaming montages have disappeared from the channel. And the reason for that is because I think I kind of shot myself in the foot, especially with YouTube, and have been griefing myself by posting those kinds of videos. Not to say that I don't enjoy making them, because they are quite fun and they are an extension of me, as I am truly, purely a gamer. So what have I done instead? I have created a new channel called JKon Frags. Go check it out if you want to see more of my montages and whatnot. I will be uploading and re-uploading a lot of the videos from this channel over to that one. So if you did not get to watch in the past or do want to watch it again, go check it out. They'll be dumped onto that channel going forward. An expectation, you'll probably see a few videos every single day, just so I can pump them out and catch up to where I am now. And you'll probably get 2 to 3 videos a week on average going forward once the re-uploads catch up to where we are today. Again, go check out that channel if you want to see my gaming montages, or if you want to see more side entertainment. This main channel will continue to be a more front-facing camera channel as I continue to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So thanks again for all of your support. I really appreciate nonetheless. But yeah, go check it out. Go subscribe. I make good stuff. It's fun. It's funny. I'm good at games. I swear. I swear. Please. And last but not least, a couple housekeeping things. I know in one of my earlier community posts, I said that the @ for my channel will remain at JSTNKON. Unfortunately, it didn't really make too much sense for me to continue to use that handle on YouTube, especially with my introduction of using JKon consistently. So I think just for SEO and looking possibilities, when you look up JKON, you should be able to find me. It may be a little troublesome at first because, you know, we're not a super established name in the YouTube scene, but hopefully JKon itself will be big enough that you'll be able to find it quite easily. My main channel will be JKon YT, JKon YouTube at JKONYT. And the second channel will be JKon Frags at JKON Frags, no space. Hopefully that explains it. I know it's a little bit confusing. I'm still trying to figure this all out myself. And you know what? Get for now, my Twitter and my Twitch will remain the same at JSTNKON, just because I can't get the new names that I want on those social medias. So we're just gonna rock with it for now. If those change, you will definitely be the first people to know. But yeah, that's about it for this channel update and for this video. I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. Please let me know down below in the comments what you think about Valorant and VCT's past year of 2023. Do you think we've crowdsourced enough money for Riot to continue to give funding for this game? Do you think that the new team skins will turn out good, and will you cop one? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If you like this video, consider checking out this video right here where I waffle about the data drop that Valorant so kindly provided to us. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay hydrated. Peace.